Hello, everybody. I welcome you all for a session on changing social context and emerging issues in HRM. This unit has two parts, and we shall examine the context of business environment and the issues associated with them and understand the role of HR manager in this process. After studying this unit, you will be able to understand and define human resource management. You will be able to explain what is meant by changing business environment. You will be able to describe the challenges faced by HR managers and appreciate the role and the tasks of the HR department. It is but natural for human beings to indulge in several activities in a day. Activities are very important part of our lives. They are essential for growth, health, etc. And throughout the day, an individual indulges in several activities. Sometimes activities are engaged as a part of reflexive actions like sneezing, knee jerk, blinking of the eye, etc. And some are undertaken as routine functions, and some have got some sort of an adjustive functions like greeting another person, saying namaste, hello, etc. And often activities are undertaken with a purpose or an end or objective in view. Such purposive activities are defined as work. Sofer in 1970 has summarized the role of work in our human lives. He says that work is responsible and serves the function as being instrumental for the survival of us. Then particularly when people are working in organizations, it helps us to interact with others. It gives scope for a lot of personal achievement, and it helps us to deal effectively with our environment and opportunity to relate to society, because we are working in organizations, and while we are working, the end product or the service will be contributing to the society at large, as purposive activities are carried out or executed in the organizations only. When individuals start working, they are interested in compensation, achievement, satisfaction from the employment in an organization. On the other side, an organization is interested in the performance and productivity of its employees. So what is it that drives today's organizations are the performance and achieving excellence in the society. Now, organizations, if we observe, we notice that they are in different stages of performance, and accordingly we may classify them as being dominant, prominent, or excellent. And this classification is more in terms of market shares. When one organization is in the dominant stage, definitely we would like to see the same organization and it strives to achieve prominence and from there to excellence. Then in such instances, what is happening is when people interact in the organization with specific needs, they perform, and organization also has certain objectives, and this sort of a nexus is what results in the product or other features, and sometimes the unique competencies of the organization. And all this is possible only with human interventions and actions. Continuing, we can say that human beings are considered as assets in the organization. Each individual has got a separate set of skills, knowledge, levels, and intellect, etc. And it is these people in the organizations whom we can consider them as the implementers of the objectives of the organization. And they make the vision, mission, goal of the organization into a reality, and that is where the performance levels get indicated. This can also be explained with an input-output ratio. The input is in the form of investment of skills, abilities of the individual, and the output is more related to performance and productivity. So the higher the inputs, the greater is the performance or the performance levels in the organization. To gain more clarity, management is more concerned about the 3 P's, that is profit, performance and productivity. And human resource or HR is considered or viewed as a source to attain the above. In organizations, normally what is happening or what is considered is that there is a concept called as high-performing work systems. So every organization would like to achieve that stage of HPWS, high-performing work systems, wherein each of the functions of the HR become operational and they function in a very strategic way and achieve the competitive advantage. For that again, what is required is where the employee's skills need to be honed, a continuous learning and development scenario should be there within the organization, and a supporting culture is also required. In the above context, we might define HRM as the process of acquisition, maintenance, developing and retaining of human talent in the organizations. Every organization has got a HR department which comprises of HR managers. And the HR managers normally function with the following assumptions. Each individual is a highly potential worker. Each individual has a unique set of skills, capabilities, and competencies. These skill sets can be nurtured and developed within the organization portals. Rewards and positive strokes result in efficient and effective workforce. These are the assumptions with which the HR department functions. And this is where they start giving importance to individuals, and the importance to individuals is recognized, and the performance of the humans are also capitalized in this process. Okay. And since work is carried out in organizations, and organizations are a part of the larger context of the society. Okay? And this larger context of the environment, consists of political, social, economic, and legal, which we normally call it as the business environment. Now, you will be coming across this term business environment in other courses also. But here we are more concerned about that aspect of business environment which is more related to the behavior of the human beings, and by which it gets influenced and the productivity levels keep changing because of that. We are more concerned about that part of it. And the larger business environment basically influences the functioning in the organizations, and organizations need to comply with the rules and regulations, and they have to be sensitive to all the stakeholders in terms of achieving their objectives and satisfying them in the process. So there is an relationship between the performance in the organization and the organizations getting influenced by the larger environment. what changes which happen in the larger environment influence the organizational functioning, and again the people working within the organization. And of late, we have noticed that the context, particularly the social context in the business environment, is undergoing a lot of changes. It's quite dynamic, and a lot of changes are being observed, and these changes appear to be quite continuous and profound in nature. And these recent changes are having a lot of influence as far as the functioning of the organizations are. So now we will try to identify what are all those challenge or factors or changes, or sometimes we can term it as also challenges, which these organizations are experiencing and which are directly and indirectly influencing the functioning of its employees. And these may be summarized as follows. The first one, of course, is globalization. Next is increase in the women workforce in the organizations. Increase in diverse people from different cultures in the organizations. Then changes in the employer-employee relationships, and the factors like age, nature of work, which have undergone some changes. Technology, of course. Then work-family balance. And recently, we will also add for this list the COVID-19 pandemic, where new responsibility of the management is not only sustainability of the business, but also ensuring the safety of its employees, customers, and other stakeholders in the process. Now, we will try to look at each of these challenges in detail and try to understand how they are actually influencing the organizational functioning. Let's take the first one, that is globalization. Globalization, liberalization, yes, for the last 15 to 20 years, a lot of research has gone into it, and we are living in this era of globalization, and where we consider the world is a global village. And what is it that has facilitated, and what type of changes have taken place to facilitate the process of globalization? So we had some changes in trade-related policies, fiscal policies, the travel policies, the communications, transportations, knowledge and goods sharing, etc. All these changes have facilitated the process of globalization, not only in India, but also in several parts of the world. There is an integration of the cultural, political, and economic aspects in a global manner here. That is what we are able to see and observe in the organizations. And this has resulted in a growing interdependence of world's economies, culture, and populations. So this is where companies and countries have come together across the world and are trying to do business with one another. So the international companies which have done well in India, just to name a few, are the Pepsi, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Samsung, Amazon, etc. And of course, the list is quite exhaustive. We can add on to this. So what do we say now? That wherein we have an integration, or we have the countries coming together, where there is an amalgamation of culture, people and economies in this globalization process. That is what will be the base for us to understand. Another part of globalization is wherein Indian companies are also opening offices as a part of expansions, mergers, acquisitions, and collaborations abroad. And for example, this has resulted in a lot of joint ventures. And South Korea has allowed other countries to operate. Southeast African countries prefer Western products. And some more examples we can quote over here are ONGC Videsh, Tata Steel, HCL Technologies, Hindalco, Tata Telecommunications, etc. Wherein these companies have opened offices and they are doing very well over here. So now, continuing with this, so what are the issues now? The issues of globalization, we can look at 3 levels. One, at individual level, wherein HR has to find people who are able to work in this different environment. So what are the characteristics required over here? They are being adaptable, flexible, and open to experiences, particularly new experiences. That is at the individual level. Then at another level, that is at the second level, we have the cultural factors or the cultural level of issues, wherein people become sensitive to other cultures. They are tolerant of other behaviors, mechanisms, and their way of doing business. That tolerance levels and acceptance of others' cultures is what is required. So the characteristics which are required over here are in terms of increased tolerance levels, being sensitive, and acceptance. This is at the next level. Then at the third level, that is at the organizational level, we can say we have the factors of labor laws. So compliance with the labor laws, rules of the land is absolutely essential when we open offices abroad or when we start functioning in a different land altogether. So the task of the HR manager now may be summarized as choosing the right candidates, identifying them, preparing them for these type of foreign assignments, selecting and training them, and trying to identify whether those candidates possess the right type of characteristics in order to interact with the work or assignments which they have to do. Then orienting them and providing the support systems wherever they are required. That is the task of HR now. And that is quite a challenging task because several employees, several hundreds of employees, and each employee is different, each group is different, each society is different, each culture is different, each continent is different. So bringing all this together is a Herculean task and a major challenge as far as the HR is concerned. An offshoot of globalization, I can say that this is a sort of a process which has been observed after globalization, and that is outsourcing of employees. So this is where the shift in the nature of the organizations have taken place. Now with globalization, there is some sort of an emphasis on the HR department to maintain lean and mean organizations and build efficiencies in the process. Cost cutting, optimization are the keywords. Then what are all those functions which can be outsourced? Some of the HRM functions can be outsourced, like recruitment, appraisal systems, etc. Then supply chain management, accounting, customer support, marketing research can be outsourced, and companies which have been indulging in this, and to name a few, Genpact, TCS, Wipro, Infosys are some examples of such outsourcing activities which are being done or executed very, very successfully. So, one factor which we have observed now is that of globalization. So, we have seen how globalization affects the organizations in terms of where we try to do work, or we try to do work with foreign people within our land, or our people, our executives going to another country and executing the job, or outsourcing a part of our jobs so that we make the best use of time and talent. And organizations have been successfully doing this, and the challenge for the HR department is to find the right type of candidates who can execute these jobs on time and deliver the solutions. The second factor which we may consider as a challenge is technology. Yes, lots have been written and lots have been spoken as far as the influence of technology is concerned. Technology, no doubt, definitely increases productivity exponentially in terms of speed and production. Definitely, yes. And we can say that at the moment, thanks to COVID-19, we are living in a digital era. And cloud, Zoom, core computing, I think this is the e-commerce are the ones which have actually been very active, and people have been using this in a very, very big manner, in a huge manner in the last few months, we should say. So artificial intelligence, cloud computing, coders, data scientists definitely are going to be in high demand in the near future. So what is the task for the HR managers, or the challenge for the HR managers? The task and challenge for the HR managers is continuous upgradation of skills of technology, first of all. As we are upgrading the technology, we need to upgrade the skills of our human resources also, of our employees also. So continuous upgradation of technology, orienting the employees and training of employees, and repositioning or reorganizing the employees in different positions so that they can work efficiently and wherever the demand is within the organization. There is a small point over here that highly skilled professionals definitely demand differential compensations. So, managing the compensation of the skilled workforce is also a part of the challenge. Designing the reward management practices, positioning them, and suitably appraising them is absolutely important and needs to be undertaken by the HR people. Yes, technology is doing and it is contributing a lot, no doubt about it. But on the other side, technology cannot match with certain things. We might conduct meetings over Zoom or through a Google Meet, etc. But nothing to compensate or to match the personal touch that we have when we start meeting people in a physical manner. The same with regard to teams. Virtual teams definitely have their own advantages. Yes, they are contributing even from remote areas, places, globally placed anywhere. Yes, they are working, no doubt about it. But when it comes to aspects like critical thinking, emotional intelligence, creativity, etc., technology has or does not play a much role, we should say. This is one part, one other side of technology, we can say, which is not being thought about, but maybe we need to focus a little on that. Otherwise, definitely we have sales going up, and we have, because of the technology, the sales and all products have gone up, have risen exponentially, we should say. So globalization and technology are two factors which we have identified. Now, we might go to the next factor. Now we will go to the next factor, and that is how the nature of work has changed in these times. There's definitely a change in the nature of work because of automation and digitalization. Production, marketing is taking place in different ways. There are new ways in which it is happening. And China has the maximum number of startups which dominate in the Alibaba platform. Even in India, in the post-COVID stage, the digital operations and sales have risen remarkably in the last few months. So the nature of the work has moved from a manufacturing, production to service, knowledge, etc. That's where the transition has been taking place. Now, what's happening because of this? Some of the changes which have been observed are, there is a rise in the jobs in the informal sector, almost to the extent of about 30 to 40% rise according to one survey. What's happening is that these are jobs which are of low productivity, which means that the return on investment may not be very high. Then another aspect is there is also a rise in the contractual workers, or people who are more interested to work according to a particular project, short-term basis, etc. India basically invested in technology, and in some sectors we are definitely leading, no doubt about it. But there is a high labor cost for that, and the productivity is not matching the labor investment in the labor. Now this is where, or this is a point of concern for us. Now if we take, for example, China, Japan or Korea, they have invested in small economic zones and human capital. And the challenge for the HR managers is, how much to be invested as far as the human capital is concerned. Now designing policies, framing of them, implementing them for all the members, for all the workforce within the organization in terms of human capital and return on investment is a major challenge. Then in an organization we have different types like casual workers, temporary workers, then liquid workforce, which is also gaining importance of late. And we need to also take into consideration the dimension of social inclusiveness. So taking all the groups, all the types of workers or workforce into this, the HR has to design or frame policies, and the balancing act has to be executed by them. Thank you very much.